So guys, by now, 25th of August 2026, had I not gotten a favor loan from somebody, from a doctor in the United States of America, I would have by now paid 12,600 Ghana cedis on interest payments alone on an amount of 21,000 Ghana cedis I took to add to the money I locked up to feed my birds from day one to when they could lay eggs to feed themselves. Welcome to my Ghanaian Dream Challenge. As you know the story, 160,000 Ghana cedis have so far been spent or has been spent from day one up to the time the birds started feeding themselves. So what happened in February 2026, that is February this year? My birds arrived in December actually of 2025, but then by February 2026, I noticed that if something was not done very quickly, I was going to be hard up, I was going to be locked up, my birds were going to die along the way if I do not get additional funds to add up to the 140,000 Ghana cedis I already locked up, use some to construct the chicken house, use some to buy the birds, 1,000 of them, and then use some to start feeding them. So I noticed that if I didn't get additional support along the lines, the birds wouldn't start laying, but then I would run out of cash. In actual fact, I could have had everything under control, but the issue was that there was no water flowing as I anticipated in this community. So I had to construct this underground water tank that could store more water when the taps open, for which reason that wasn't originally budgeted for. So I needed water, which is very key in poultry production. Water is of course very important to the survival and welfare of poultry. So I had to spend more than 12,000 Ghana cedis to construct this underground water tank. Even up to now, it is still not decked at the top. There's no concrete at the top. I have found my little ways to cover the top, but that is another story. Additionally, I noticed that to continuously be able to post these videos that you see online, I needed a more reliable internet service. So I couldn't rely on the usual networks we have, MTN, Telecel, Airtel, among others that is around. So I went to break the bank to buy a Starlink satellite internet service, and that took away a lot of my funds that I could have used to feed my birds, for which reason I came out with a cap in hand asking family and friends and everybody who was watching, including you, to support me with a loan of 21,000 Ghana cedis to add up to the funds I already had, so I could feed my birds comfortably until they could feed themselves, that I'll begin to pay the loan. I didn't get any loan from anybody, and I didn't also want to just go straight to a commercial loan center to take a loan, because I wasn't too sure what could happen with the birds, as to whether they would die and I'll not be able to pay the principal, not talk of paying interest, or whatever it was going to be. I wasn't too sure, so I wasn't rushing to go in for a commercial loan. Moreover, it wasn't yet time, because I still had money with me that I was feeding them, but then it wasn't yet time. It wasn't up to my neck level that would press me to go in for a commercial loan. So I had some time left to keep on asking until finally somebody in the United States, a doctor, a Ghanaian doctor who lives in the United States and practices there, loaned me that 21,000 Ghana cedis per my calculations, which was added to the funds I had to become comfortable. And with that funds, I was able to buy more maize to store in my store, and to be able to have the confidence that I could feed my birds. And yes, actually I was able to do that. Now 7 months, almost 8 months down the line, I am reflecting on this issue, and I just noticed that it could have been a catastrophe should I not get that particular favor loan of 21,000 Ghana cedis. This could be the consequences had I not gotten it. One is that in around March, April, when the birds started giving me their golden egg 1, 2, and 3, my funds would have finished at that time. So when the birds started laying, and according to experts like some of you, when layers start laying, it is at that time that is most crucial for them to have quality feed in order to be able to convert it to the eggs and to increase the production up to the level that can become commercial in nature for you to be able to sell. So I would have been out of business because my birds would have started dying, and I may just end up selling them at that stage, and that would have been a catastrophe. That Ghanaian dream would have died. The second is that had I not gotten that fever loan, I would have been pushed to go in for a commercial loan. And for a commercial loan, the very last one I took was from a savings and loans company. And the principal, it was 15,000 Ghana cedis, and the principal and the interest was 12%. And they indicate that as long as I could keep paying the interest every month, I could keep the loan till the kingdom comes, once I give them their interest of 12% every month. So that particular amount, that company still exists, and if I didn't get a favor loan, I would have been tempted to go to them. But then it was later on, upon posting my request for a loan, favor loan or interest-free loan, that some people later told me that there are other facilities, there are other banks that actually also give loans, but they don't take. There are other loan companies that give loans of that nature, but they do not take up to 12%. They do not take up to 12% interest. But then, let's say the one I knew and I have experience in is the one that takes the 12%. So I didn't want to go there, and I had a loan of 21,000 Ghana cedis. So had I gone for that loan, I would have been paying an amount of 2,520 Ghana cedis every month on interest alone. And by now, I would have paid a total, because from April, May, June, July, August, I would have paid a total of about 12,000 Ghana cedis. And that would have been so serious and catastrophic, because even myself, as I keep saying all the time, the birds have not yet paid me. The birds have not yet paid my consultant. So even with the principal amount of 21,000 that I was supposed to pay at the end of July, I couldn't mobilize money to pay everything. So that would have meant that I wouldn't have been able to pay the principal amount of 21,000. That will automatically mean that I stopped paying the interest continuously monthly. So it has made me poorer, because the money from the birds hasn't yet come in as I anticipated to change my life, and that I'll be spending 12,600 of that precious amount on interest payment. Again, had I gone in for a commercial loan, it wouldn't have been easy, because some of the loan companies do not allow for extension, renegotiation of the extension of the loans, those that allow you to pay the interest plus the principal. So if I had gone in for such a loan, that would simply mean that the July I had given as a deadline for me to pay the 21,000 to the one who gave me that loan, and it came, I couldn't pay. That would have meant that I'll go back to renegotiate. That would mean more interest payment, or they wouldn't accept at all. And if I had left any collateral with them, and which most of them actually do, I would have lost that collateral, and that would have been serious. So assuming they had accepted for a renegotiation, that would simply mean more interest payment, and not only the 12,600 Ghana cedis that would have paid. You can imagine. So these calculations that I'm doing with you simply tells that there is a very serious gap if one is to do business in Ghana. And that serious gap is, in fact, I had up to 140,000 Ghana cedis of my own money. Initially it was 100,000, then later I went to take my savings, then later I sold some of my interest in a small business I was having with somebody, and everything coming to 140,000 Ghana cedis. So now I was at my limit. I couldn't go further, and so I had to look for an additional support. So assuming it was somebody else who didn't have such an opportunity, and the business had already started, no wonder there are people before I came into this fully who had started this particular business, and at the end of the day, they fed the birds and fed them up to a point that they couldn't get money to feed them any longer, so they had to abandon them. I told you of a story of one guy who opened their birds to just go out and eat because they can no longer feed the birds. And it could have happened to me had I not had the direction from God to go online to share my story to get such a loan, which I started paying, though it hasn't finished. I paid the first installment in July. Second installment is coming this August. So by October, I will finish paying, and I will thank God so much. And I pray I'm committed to doing this, and I want to do it even before the October comes. So that would have meant that this particular dream, Ghanaian dream, would have automatically be in danger, or it will even collapse automatically. God forbid. You can imagine how just common, not common though, because I didn't have it at that time. 21,000 Ghana cedis could collapse a dream of over 140,000 with more and better efforts. You can imagine. So, is there something the government can do about such? Because I have also come to realize that in doing business, there is a particular stage, perhaps at the beginning or at a point, if the capital requirement is not so much, that will exceed the salaries of people around you, friends and family. Some could volunteer to give you the loan, or just to give you a dash of some cash, of some 5,000, 2,000 to add up to whatever you want to do. But then once it exceeds a particular amount of, say, 21,000, 50,000, it simply means that many people who are by us, friends and family, they will not be able to raise those monies because it is above their salaries. And even to be able to raise such, unless they take loans, and many of our compatriots actually will not even take loans for themselves to do business, they will take loans for somebody else to chase his dreams. For which reason, government should try to do something about this. So the government of the Republic of Ghana should put in mechanisms to be able to support people who want to venture on their own. There are quite a number of such names of institutions that are supposed to support, but then, as you and I are aware, it takes a lot more to be able to receive such support. So if you are venturing into poultry like mine, you must be able to gather all your resources. You may not be lucky like me to be able to get such a loan from somebody who doesn't know you anywhere but just on social media. You might not be lucky to be able to get such funding gap to be able to get your best to a laying stage. You may not be lucky to be able to request for a an extension of the loan payment, and you may be in crisis. If you had put in one or two of your collateral, you may lose them. For which reason, for me, I was lucky and I'm so grateful. Maybe in future, although in the past I have also given some people some loans, not up to 21,000 obviously, without expecting any interest payments. But then in the future, I think when things get far better than now, I should be able to also maybe establish a small institution that will help people who are really in need of small amounts of money to change to change the fortune of their businesses. I have been narrating the story of how difficult it was for me to get a loan to support my business because I was afraid to go in for a commercial loan. And eventually I had a loan, but then paying it, I had to also ask for an extension of payment because my bear suffered diseases and died. And the production suffered and I had to ask for an extension. And all of these, should I not be able to get that particular favor, I would have been in serious problem by now because I would have gone in for a commercial loan, which by now I would have paid more than 12,600 Ghana cedis on interest alone before payment of the principal, which is 21,000. That would have made me poorer, and I am asking for institutions that are charged with the responsibility to see to it that such upcoming entrepreneurs like me are able to get the required support of resources and funding to be able to get them to where they need to get to so that they can go in for commercial loans at the bank and they wouldn't have to collapse. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever the doctor is, I say thank you so much. May God give you whatever you are praying for. That particular loan meant a lot to me. I've had a lot of money more than 140,000 that I invested, but then that 21,000 Ghana cedis meant the difference between me getting to the laying stage of me selling the best when I would have been under distress. But so far, 2 months is coming. The second installment payment is coming in August, and God willing, I'll do that. And then in September, I'll pay the other installment, and then in October, it will be done. I also promise that in my little way, I would also do something to show that I really appreciate the fact that I had received that particular support. For all of you that tried to support and you couldn't support, I thank you so much. But then in this poultry business, taking a loan that you do not have other means to pay, but relying solely on your best to pay is really dangerous. Most of you already mentioned it, but then I thought that because it was just a funding gap, I shouldn't have any problem. But then eventually, when the birds were dying and dying, and production came down as a result of medication that we gave them, it simply means that I would have been in serious trouble paying back that loan. Thank you so much. Bye bye for now.